It's been a while since I did a video, so I thought I'd do one as a bit of a catch-up to see what's been going on. God, look at that sky up there. Lovely and blue, isn't it? But this time of the year, that usually means there's a frost in the morning, so temperatures are still a little bit low. It's Wednesday the 19th of March, so we're well into the month and spring is just ahead of us, and there's a promise of warmer temperatures to come later on this week, so fingers crossed. So for this video I thought I'd do a catch-up, and moving on from the last one I did, if you remember, I had a new patio laid, and because that was slightly higher than the old one, I had to raise the soil levels around the edges, and I'd also took a gamble on seeding it. So let's just have a quick look and see how that's got on. As you can see, the seeder's taken quite well, so I'm fairly happy with that. Still a little bit thin and patchy in places. Bit of sunlight around this side here. Look. I won't point the camera up towards it because you get flare. But it's blended in quite well. In fact, we've had to cut it twice. We've added a bit more seed in some of the patches just to give it a bit more of a kickstart for the coming year. But really pleased with that. All the borders have had a clean up as well, because we've not been able to get to them, or rather my wife has not been able to get to them. Mainly due because the grass was sodden wet, and of course down here we couldn't step on it anyway because it had all been seeded. Some of the spring flowers coming out now, look. Bless her, she has been busy. So yeah, really happy with that. So onto the pond. Well, what's been happening there? Well, let me take you back to January. In particular, well, just let me sit down. Friday the 10th of January. Now, that was around the time when we had those sub-zero temperatures, and we were getting about -5 overnight here. Now, on the 10th, I was due to go to Nottingham and had to be there for 10 o'clock in the morning. So 8 AM I came out just before setting off, just to have a quick look at the pond, and horror upon horrors, there was no water in it. I was down to about a foot. Now, if ever any of you have ever experienced that, you'll know what a gut-wrenching feeling it is. So my first reaction, turn the pump off. I think auto panic mode setting, to be quite honest. But once I got the pump off, the next thing was get some water back in the pond. So I went to the hose pipe, turned the sap on, and there it is, frozen solid. So my wife said, get some buckets and we'll fill them and put them in, and then see where we go from there. So I got a couple of buckets and she was filling them up, bless her. I dropped in about ½ litre of sodium thiosulfite to combat the chlorine. And once I got enough water in for the fish to move freely on the bottom, I then started searching for a miracle, some way to try and get some water into a pond other than buckets, because that just took days to do that. And then looking around and not finding the miracle, I suddenly did. And if I just point out, that connection there was dripping. So I thought, well, that pipe can't be frozen. That's the one that runs from the tap there. Now, it's not very long anyway, but I could see some drips. So I disconnected it. It's one of those with a auto valve sort of thing. So I pressed my finger in it and water was squirting out. So I stretched it out. It doesn't reach the pond, but it came down to around about here somewhere. The next thing was to get a connection on the end. Well, the gun, up and down there, that was frozen solid. But this one here, I don't use that. but it was frosted up. So I dropped that in a bowl of water, warm water, while I was stretching out the other pipe. And after about 5 minutes, I could put it on the end, and with the aid of a couple of bricks, I could sort of point it up and loop it down into the pond. So with that sorted, my wife said she'll keep an eye on it because she'll be in all day. Off I went to Nottingham. While I was there, I was able to keep track of what was going on. I've got 2 cameras down here, and one up there. That covers the whole of this garden area around here. And I've also got another one just up there. And that covers just the pond area. So I was able to keep track of what was happening. And by the time I got home, it was dark anyway. But the next day I came out to have a look. And the first thing I noticed, well, actually I did, I noticed it the day before actually, but wasn't too concerned because I couldn't do anything about it, was the return pipe. I'm up and down here a little bit, sorry about that. Down there was absolutely frozen up. The float switch down there was suspended in mid-air as well on a block of ice. So that hadn't sort of kicked in either. So it was just one thing after another. Now, with the weather forecast predicting it would warm up in a couple of days, there was not much I could do while we still had sub-zero temperatures. So with the pump still turned off, I wasn't concerned about that. But the air pump was running, there was air in the system and the water was moving about. I was quite okay about that. So about the Monday, the temperatures did rise and I was able to come out and try and sort things out. So I poured some warm water over that return pipe so I could hear the ice in there cracking a little bit, so I thought it might free it up. And with the aid of a screwdriver, I was able to prise it out. And I'm not kidding you, there was a 6-inch block of ice in there. Now, I will say at this particular time, I have never ever had a problem in freezing weather with this pond. Not with pipes, pumps, anything freezing up. I mean, apart from the pond surface. A couple of years ago, it did completely freeze over, apart from in the middle where the air comes up. That kept a gap there. But other than that, never ever had a problem. And it had been colder than the -5 that we'd had this year. So anyway, with the return pipe cleared, I went to turn the pump on, that coughed and spluttered, and then it came up with an error message. So I tried it again, same thing. It was something about, I can't remember what it was, 03 or something like that, it came up. So I went to the pump, took the top off, made sure there was water in it, there was. Undid the other end that comes up out the pond and tried to move the impeller, wouldn't budge. Now luckily enough, I've got a spare brand new 10,000 Viri pump. So I swapped the pumps over, plugged it in, primed the pump up and turned it on, and with a cough and a splutter, water flowed through the filters and back out into the pond. So with that running, I got the old pump and took a look at it, and I noticed right at the bottom underneath the impeller there was a block of ice which was stopping it from rotating. So poured some warm water through the pump, got rid of the ice, and the impeller was starting to move. Plugged it in and tested it, and it worked fine. So I stripped that down, cleaned it all up, put it together, and I've actually put it back in the cupboard out of the way. Probably at some stage when I do a bit more maintenance around the pump, I'll swap them back over again. But at the moment, I just didn't want to bother. I got everything running, and that was the main thing. So a couple of lessons learnt there. I think next year or next coming winter, with the forecast of freezing sub-zero temperatures, I may either drop the level of the pond down another couple of inches, or I may put a 90 or a 45 on the end of that return pipe with an extension pipe, so the retain goes under the water rather than falling into the water. As for the float switch, guys, if you got one, just make sure it don't freeze up around there and stops it from doing its job. But you know, sometimes we learn the hard way, don't we? Anyway, that was January's near disaster averted. So we'll move on to February. Don't know what happened there, sorry guys. So for part 2 in this video, we'll be moving into February, and for that I've brought you over to the filters, and if you look down at where the waste comes up, you will see where there was once a slide valve is now a ball valve. And the reason for that is it resolved a bit of an issue that I had last year. Now, to explain that a little bit further, I need to take you back to just after the summer. What happened was I was conscious that the pond level was dropping, maybe about 3 or 4 inches a week. A little bit hard to say, mainly because you're cleaning the filters twice a week, so you're topping up, and it's less noticeable, but it was quite substantial in my mind. And try as I may, I just could not find the cause. I checked all the pipework that I replaced last year, valves, just everything I could think of. I even considered that maybe the liner was leaking, but I wasn't really confident that that was the issue. It's a good substantial butyl liner, and it's only been in there 2 or 3 years, so wasn't really sure about that. So then, as I was starting really to just accept it and compensate for it, during February I stepped outside the back door. Just let me take you around there and I can explain this maybe a little bit better. So here we go. I stepped out the back door and I noticed in that drain there was a ripple. Now, this pipe here is the waste from the Easy Pod, and that pipe there is from my wife's favourite gadget, the washing machine. Now, I knew the washing machine wasn't on, so what I did, I lifted that pipe up and the ripple stopped. Pushed it down, the ripple started. So that got me thinking that there is a problem somewhere in the Easy Pod. So moving back over here, I raised the gate valve up to let some water out, pushed it down, and because I was crouched, I could see that the plunger wasn't going all the way down. So with that in mind, I had to investigate this further. So I drained the Easy Pod, removed the rubber boot which connected the slide valve, and dismantled the slide valve so I could see inside it. And what I found was astonishing really, because in the bottom of the groove that the blade goes into, there was all bits of grit in there, and it actually damaged the blade at the bottom. Now, I'm not sure where the grit came from, whether it was the wind had blown it in or it come down in rain. Anyway, it got through the filter system, and obviously as I was flushing the Easy Pod out, it was gathering in the slot at the bottom. So clearing it all out, making sure that the plunger worked up and down and the slide was hitting the bottom okay, refitted it all, filled the Easy Pod up, and no drips. Sorry, no ripples. So confident that I'd solved the problem, but not confident that it would happen again, I decided that I'd change it for a ball valve. Now, this is something I wasn't planning on doing straight away, so I just left it as it was for a bit. And then I was watching a video from Farmer Coy, and on the video he was building a grow-on tank, and he was using an Easy Pod
as the filtration. What Tony had done is he'd swapped the gate valve for a ball valve. Now, usually when you do this, you get what you call a socket, which is a solvent well screw thread at the other end, because these gate valves on these are at the bottom. They're an all-in-one, and they just screw straight into the EasyPod. So you screw this socket in and then solvent weld the ball valve to it. But Tony had found one with a screw-on coupling for a ball valve. So I messaged him and asked him if he could kindly send me the link, which he did. He got it off eBay, and I ordered one of those. So they come as a pair. You get one with the coupling and a plain one, but I wasn't worried about that. The plain one, I just throw it in my box of bits and bobs, and maybe it'll come in handy sometime. But while I was on eBay, I thought I'll have a quick look and see how much I can get a ball valve for. And I came upon the eBay shop of Eco Filtration. Now I know them because that's where indirectly I got my bottom drain from. It's down there, still running fine. Now they came, the ball valve, along with a couple of reducers for pressure pipe to waste. So I thought I'll just have a quick nip on their website and see how much the ball valves are on there. And when you add on the post and packaging, they were about the same price as the one on eBay, but the one on eBay of course had the two reducers, so I ordered them. And with a bit of good luck, both packages arrived at the same time. So I cracked on the next day and I thought I'll get this done. Now this is one of those jobs, it either takes you 30 minutes or it takes you about 2 days, depending how everything goes right. So I'll just switch back to the EasyPod. So after draining the EasyPod, I dismantled the old slide valve, unscrewed that. And my biggest concern is whether this would line up with that, which it didn't, of course. It wasn't far out, but it was enough. So once I got the ball valve screwed on and everything, and I could see how far out it was, I thought, you know, that's not that far. So what I did, I cut that section off here and flipped it round. That previously was fastened to there. And with a bit of good luck, that joiner there, I'd used that as a reducer in the old rubber boot which connected the old slide valve. It was still out a little bit, but with a bit of fettling with this, I was able to move this down that way a little bit, slip this on, and moving the EasyPod, just a little bit of a wiggle, it got it all to line up. So that was another bit of good luck. So quite happy with myself. I've got it all lined up. Excuse me. Fill the EasyPod. No leaks here. And open the valve, and it drained off fine. A little bit of a drip came out, I think, from there, but I hadn't solvent welded that on. So that's one of those jobs that I will do at some stage or other. You know, it's ever-growing list of these little tiny jobs. But it only leaks when you're draining it off. So that was the mystery and the problem solved, and I was quite chuffed with that. So looking around, you may see this polystyrene on there. That wasn't intentional. My wife bought some glass furniture and it came wrapped with that stuff. So rather than take it to the tip, I sort of hacked it all up and just stuck it to the sides around. Oh, it's coming on. Let's push that in. Around there. I don't know if it do any good. Probably not, but it was free and it saved me a trip to the tip. And the other little addition is those little temperature gauges. It's one of those exterior weatherproof boxes. I just cut a couple of holes in there for them to fit in. The temperature gauges are from eBay. They're a couple of quid each and they run off a battery.
Probably the replacement batteries cost more than what they do, and just clip them in. Top one is for the air temperature, which is reading 10.4, and the bottom one is for the pond, which is reading dead on 10 degrees. So that's about it for this one. Mystery solved. Nice ball valve on there, and no leaks in the pond. Now, just as a little bit of a forewarning, I am working on another video which involves a Tempest, so if you think that may be of interest, please subscribe if you haven't already done so, then you'll be notified when that's uploaded. And so that just leaves me to say, if you're still with me this far, thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you next time.